Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Reluctant Disney Adult, where we talk about almost all things Disney. I'm your host, Amy. Today, we're going to rank all 27 of the feature-length Pixar films that have been released, from least favorite to most. So, instead of doing a drawn-out introduction, why don't we just get going with the countdown? Number 27, Cars 2. There are many tough choices in these rankings. This isn't one of them. Cars 2 is a lemon and not worth discussing. Let's move on. Number 26, The Good Dinosaur. Though I do not like this film in general, it does have a few bright spots. The backgrounds look amazing, and the main theme is pretty good as well. Unfortunately, it takes an intriguing premise. What would happen if the dinosaurs didn't die out 65 million years ago, and fails to execute it well? It's a really weird film, but sadly not good weird. Number 25, Lightyear. What was this film trying to be? Star Trek? Star Wars? Its own thing? I don't know, and sadly, neither does this film. There are some good ideas in here, and some beautiful animation, but it never congeals into something better than that. In my opinion, this would have worked better without tying it to Buzz Lightyear, the toy, not the man. Number 24, Onward. Beware, travelers, for now we have entered the realm of the middling Pixar films. I like the relationship between the two brothers at the center of this film, and that dragon at the end was cleverly constructed. But this never really caught my attention. It feels like they went through a lot of concepts of what this film was to be, which isn't uncommon for even the best Pixar films. However, they just couldn't find that final version that clicked everything into place. Number 23, Elemental. I want to like this film more than I actually do. Wade and Ember do have a certain chemistry, and the world of the film looks fantastic. However, it just never lives up to its potential. Every time I started to think the film was going somewhere interesting, you could feel the Pixar story team click it back into its obligatory position, and the film would lose my full attention. Nevertheless, I would like to try that hot, firish cuisine. Number 22, Finding Dory. True to its titular character, I often forget this film exists. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. It's a fun movie that I enjoyed watching. Now, I definitely watched several shorts centered around the two sea lions, Fluke and Rudder, especially one where they take a trip to Baltimore Harbor. Number 21, Luca. It's a testament to Pixar that we aren't out of the 20s, and already we've reached my good but not great zone. I like the premise of this film, as well as what it is trying to say. Oh, and I really like that cat. Now, all of that makes up for one of the most regrettable mustaches I have ever seen. Number 20, Cars. Unlike its terrible sequel, the original model in the Cars franchise is actually pretty good. Radiator Springs is well rendered, and there's a good chemistry between the voice cast. I especially enjoyed Paul Newman's performance as Doc Hudson, which turned out to be his last role before his death in 2008. Honestly, this movie's biggest problem is that it was sandwiched between The Incredibles and Ratatouille. Number 19, Incredibles 2. This film is, well, incredible looking. It also does a good job exploring the tensions and conflicts that arise when two partners switch the roles in their relationship. However, I'm just not sure the rest of the film works all that well. Okay, except for the part where the baby fights a raccoon. That part is amazing. Number 18, Cars 3. When I went to watch Cars 3 for the first time back in 2020, my expectations were appropriately low. However, I ended up thinking this film was pretty good. Its central theme about aging and learning to help the next generation succeed was conveyed rather effectively. And though it leaned a bit too hard on deleted footage from Cars, I do like how Doc Hudson was integrated into the story. And oh my gosh, it's a beautiful film. With the snow-capped Cadillac Range and the misty Appalachian foothills and the beach scenes, but finally, that great cover of Glory Days by Andra Day has made it into my regular rotation. All in all, it's a solid film. Number 17, Soul. It's unfortunate this film was released in the middle of the pandemic back at the end of 2020. It would have been a great film to see up on the big screen. As it is, it's very solid with some fun animation, interesting ideas, and an excellent soundtrack. Number 16, Monsters University. The first two-thirds of this film is an enjoyable, yet rote, slobs versus snobs college film. It's kind of fun seeing Mike and Sully get to know each other, and the other members of Uzma Kappa were all good weird, with some fun voice acting. Nevertheless, it all felt pretty forgettable. However, the way it all played out in the last third is why this is as high as it is. The film doesn't try to cheat its way to a happy ending. Instead, it finds another, more satisfying way to get where it had to go. Seriously, that big scare at the camp was legitimately creepy. Number 15, A Bug's Life. It's tough being a bug, especially one that was in theaters between Toy Story and Toy Story 2. While I don't think it quite reaches the level of either of those films, it is still very good. It's often quite funny and has a legitimately scary villain. And, of course, there's the totally novel idea of an oppressed society overthrowing those who oppress them and seizing the means of production for their own benefit. Can't imagine where that idea might have come from. Number 14, Brave. This film has an excellent opening and ending. The songs are wonderful and evoke the setting and the characters so well, particularly Merida and her mother Eleanor. Now, I wish the middle of the film worked as well as the rest, although there's still a lot of fun going on in there. Most of all, I'm curious what this would have been like if Brenda Chapman had been able to make the film she wanted to. Number 13, Toy Story 3. We've reached our first Toy Story of the list. Now, I can hear the surprised reactions out there. Let me show you my work for this. Okay, so that climactic scene in the incinerator is still grimly satisfying, even though I know that the old gang is going to be safe. I also like Lotso as the complex and sad villain he is. And, of course, the passing of the torch between Andy and Bonnie at the end can still bring a tear or two to my eyes. But the rest of the story just feels a little slight and doesn't work as well for me as the other story's toy. Number 12, Turning Red. Like Brave, This film features a strained relationship between a girl and her overbearing mother. But it's also a story about being a teenager. Okay, the story of a teenager and the multi-generational curse that turns her into a giant red panda. It's honestly refreshing to see teenage girls be written as well-rounded as they are in this film. May and her friends get to feel excited, sad, and angry while also having confusing and intense feelings about, stuff. It all feels very real and relatable. Number 11. Toy Story. Compared to subsequent Pixar films, the original Toy Story feels a bit small. Nevertheless, the very fact it made it to the big screen is a massive accomplishment in and of itself. It overcame technical limitations and a disastrous early version where Woody was a giant jerk to become, Toy Story. So, even though it feels just a bit outdated and the story is fairly limited, it's still an excellent film. Number 10. The Incredibles. We've arrived at the top 10, everybody. Now, each and every film from here on out are favorites of mine. And this one is no different. I love how the style of the film is so distinct while still fitting into the Pixar house style. The superhero stuff and how we act can have consequences even decades down the line is great as well. But I think the film really cooks when it's a story about what can happen when a family figures out some of its shit, starts being honest with each other, and works together to live in an often confusing and sometimes dangerous world. Number 9. Up. If we were ranking the best openings of any Pixar film, Up would win hands down. From the moment we meet young Carl in the movie theater to when he encounters Ellie for the first time and on through that bittersweet, heartbreaking montage of their life together, it's emotionally powerful and resonant. Sure, the rest of the film doesn't quite live up to the opening, but what could? It's still a lot of fun, and Doug is a good boy. Yes, he is. Muntz is a downright scary villain that is also a good mirror of Carl, showing what can happen when you obsess over the one that got away rather than focusing on the adventures out there for you today. Number 8. Toy Story 4. I fully admit this one is as high as it is because of when I watched it and its resonance in my own personal life. The message about being able to let go and move on spoke to me in a way that changed the entire trajectory of my own story. But beyond my personal connection to it, I think it is just a darn good film. In addition to the main story about Woody and Bo Peep, there's also a villain who isn't really a villain who gets her own moving resolution. Oh, and it also features another character overcoming his fear of abandonment to do a bitching motorcycle trick to save the day. And that's not getting into the whole existential stuff with Forky. Oh wow, there's a lot going on with this one, huh? Number 7. Finding Nemo. The runner-up to Up for most effective opening goes to Finding Nemo. By starting with an immense tragedy, it sets up so well the relationship between Marlin and Nemo and informs the action of both, particularly Marlin, throughout the rest of the film. Thomas Newman's score works excellently with the film mostly set underwater, and the ocean setting is simply gorgeous. Now, if only I could remove P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney, from being firmly wedged in my brain. Number 6. Monsters, Inc. It's amazing how much progress the animation technology between Toy Story and this film made. Still, as well done as Sully's fur coat was, and how stunning the climactic chase through the door warehouse still is, this film isn't just an amazing technical achievement. The world of the monsters beyond our closets is well rendered and a whole lot of fun. Oh, and that central relationship between Billy Crystal's Mike Wazowski and John Goodman's James P. Sully Sullivan is just so well acted and written. You can feel their genuine friendship, which makes the tensions and eventual conflict between them so effective. And no, I haven't forgotten Boo. The film just wouldn't work nearly as well without her. Try not to tear up when you hear that final "Kitty!" Seriously, I dare you. Number 5. Coco. I have to say, I almost missed this one in theaters because Disney put that annoyingly long Frozen short before it. Fortunately, they finally took that off, and I was able to experience this wonderful film in the theater. I enjoyed the intergenerational story and Miguel's quest to do what he loved and then to just get back to the living. What's more, the excellent story is tied into an amazingly realized version of the Land of the Dead that feels so very alive. And gosh, when Miguel starts playing Remember Me and Great Grandma Coco begins to sing along, that's some good stuff. Number 4, Inside Out. In July of 2015, I was stuck in Front Royal, Virginia, unable to continue my Appalachian Trail hike due to a Swiss Army knife-related mishap. Bored with little to do, I decided to see a movie at the small multiplex downtown. My choice? Inside Out. And, well, seeing how far into the rankings we are, I'll let you guess how much I enjoyed it. I love the way this film plays with memory and dreams and the complexity of emotions. The soundtrack is fantastic, and the voice acting of each of the 5 emotions as they evoke their associated feelings is just so great. Number 3, Toy Story 2. It's a testament to Toy Story 2 that 23 years after its release, it is still in my top 3. Sure, the animation can feel dated at times, but it, on the whole, holds up pretty well. What about the rest of the film? It is downright impeccable. It's just paced so well, has a stunning climax, and is above all just a whole lot of fun. But even more than that, it finds new emotional resonance for the existing characters while also giving us reason to care about new characters like Jessie the yodeling cowgirl. Yep, you're humming When Somebody Loved Me to yourself, aren't you? I know I sure am. Number 2, WALL-E. A lot of times when people talk about how much they like WALL-E, they qualify it by saying the part before they go to the ship. Now, I get it, because that part is amazing. It's a mostly silent film about a diligent little robot trying to do his job on a desolate, garbage-filled, and utterly ruined Earth. What's not to love? But me, I will stand for the rest of the film once we head to the Axiom as well. I love how every human and robot WALL-E encounters is touched by his unwitting influence, and how that changes the course of history just by him trying to help Eve complete her directive. And that soundtrack, just thinking of Define Dancing brings a smile to my face. So here's to you, you little Hello Dolly loving robot you. It's too bad you were too heavy to roll around at the Disney parks for the lawyers to feel comfortable. Number 1. Ratatouille. Gosh, I love this movie so much. Okay, give me a second. There's so much I adore about this film, it's tough to know where to start. Like, this film has a great way of using animation and sound to convey different tastes. Oh, or how about it never bogs itself down with some sort of overworked explanation about how Remy can control Linguini with his hair. And, of course, I love the climax and Ego's review and how this film finds a happy ending that still doesn't result in the restaurant being saved. But above all, I just love how this film comes together. Between the fluid camera work, the animation, and the score by Michael Giacchino, it all feels just so kinetic, so full of energy. To put my feelings in a much simpler terms, and pardon my French accent, Ratatouille est un film magnifique et je l'adore. Well, that's all for our list. If you agree or disagree, please let us know in the comments. And if you like this video, go ahead and like it or subscribe. Every little bit helps. And if you liked this Pixar ranking video, boy, do we have a treat for you in an upcoming video. Yes, that's right. We'll be ranking all 62 animated films released by Walt Disney Animation Studios. Yep, that'll include the brand new film Wish. So until next time, this is Amy, the Reluctant Disney Adult, signing off.